Good evening, folks, and welcome back to the ARCA Racing Podcast. It's great to see you guys all again. Great to have you all here. And we got some big news today. No covering of racing, but we're here to cover the 2023 schedules. They are out. They are now public. And I'm just happy to talk about all this. The ARCA Racing Series had a great year, with car counts, racing, everything was great. And, now the schedules are out, and now we can look forward to another great year of racing coming up. We're going to get through my little intro as we usually do on my show. And then, of course, we'll get right into going through all the main series first, and then we'll go through the separate East and West series schedules. So, of course, you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media, Twitter at StartinParkCar. Check out theracingexperts.com for all NASCAR content. Give NASCAR Man a Brock Beard, two of my good friends on Twitter, a shout out and a follow as well. That would be much appreciated. So let's just jump right into it, guys. The 2023, all three divisions have finally been released for the ARCA schedules, and there's a lot of changes, and there's also a lot of kind of similarities with what we saw this season. I wanted to start out with the main series schedule because that was the first schedule that was released. This was released a couple of weeks. Was it a couple of weeks ago, or was it just last week? It feels like a couple of weeks ago because so much has happened since then. But the 2023 main series schedule, a lot of similarities, no real track changes. Not much difference. It looks to me every track that was on the schedule this year is on the schedule for 2023 as well. In terms of track schedule changes, not many. A lot of the tracks are in kind of the same spot. The real notable change is Mid-Ohio and Iowa. Mid-Ohio has been moved back to July, and so has Iowa. Iowa has also been moved back to July. And Berlin has been moved up into June. Other than that, looking at the other part of the schedule, really a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities, especially in the last part of the season with Kansas, Bristol, Salem, and Toledo. I believe they rounded out the year this year as well. Kansas, Bristol, Salem, Toledo were the final four races of the 2022 season and will be also the final races of the 2023 season. So for at least there are a lot of the race teams, a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities going into 2023. Lots of similar items, which I could say is a good thing. I think that is a good thing for the series. I know we always like to see change. I know a lot of fans love to see change, new tracks, especially with how many tracks the ARCA series has raced on over the years. There's a lot of good choices out there. There's absolutely a lot of great choices for the ARCA Racing Series to run at. But, I'll agree. I think the schedule we have right now is fine. I have no problem with the main series schedule one bit. No problem whatsoever with it. In terms of scheduling, though, I do wish that the dates for Watkins Glen and Springfield were different because, it's just, for an ARCA teams, man, that's really rough on them, having to do a road course race and then do a dirt race. And it's not just the Cup Series. The Cup Series, I believe, could handle something like that. But the ARCA division, a series that doesn't have, a lot of greatly funded organizations, and a lot of them are, family run, doing that in just a couple of days with two completely different style racetracks with two completely different car setups is a lot of money that a lot of these teams just don't have. And, frankly, it didn't hurt this year because we had over 20 cars for each event, but we have seen in the past that did hurt. So I'm hoping that for next year, we can see the continuation of some good car counts. The lowest car count this season was 17 at Berlin. I might expect that again for next year. Berlin doesn't usually draw the best car counts. Same with Elko. But of course, like I said, only, and I think this is probably the best statistic this season, only a whopping, I think 3 or 4 races this season for 2022 main division had under 20 cars, which is absolutely great. I know we all want, every single race to have over 20 cars, but You compare that to the 2021 season, even especially 2020, during the peak of the pandemic, it's you can't say ARCA is not back on the rise a little bit, and it's great to see. But as for the schedule, schedule's fine. Starts out in Daytona like usual. We start out in Daytona. Then we got the combo race with the West Series that is under the main series banner, which is also, I believe, the first race of the West Series season. Then we got, of course, Talladega, the first Kansas race, Charlotte, Berlin, Elko, Mid-Ohio, Iowa. Sorry about that. Pocono, Michigan, IRP, the Glen, Springfield, Milwaukee, DuQuoin, Kansas, Bristol, Salem, Toledo. And, I'm happy to see that Toledo is once again the finale. I heard so many ARCA drivers, teams, come out just so happy of Toledo being the finale again. And I 100% agree. Having the ARCA season finale as just a standalone race at a random NASCAR weekend at Kansas, I understand it's the playoff weekend for NASCAR at Kansas. I understand that. But at the end of the day, all the spotlight is on NASCAR. It's the NASCAR playoffs. And now that the Truck Series is also involved there, that hurts the ARCA division even more. When you have the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and Cup Series knee-deep in the playoffs, and then you bring the ARCA championship it's just an afterthought. That's all it is. And you don't want it to be. And when I work that race with Brad and Wayne, it really does. It just feels like, hey, we're here and we're gone. It's like no one cares. But you look at all the press, all the hype that went into that race, man, and the car count they got. I mean, I know Toledo's used to getting big fields, but for 25 for that season finale was absolutely great. The race itself was great. The finish was great. The publicity it got was great compared to, even the ARCA race that we usually see at Kansas. I mean, you compare it to the race we saw at Kansas that Corey Heim won, and then you compare it to the one that we saw here with that finish and Sammy Smith pulling off the win even though he didn't have the best car. It was a great way to end the season, and I'm very happy that Toledo is back as the season finale. Surprised to see Salem, honestly, back on there. I've heard a lot of rumors that Salem was not going to come back just due to the poor cell service. I mean, the cool part about the track is that it still looks like it did back in 1985. The bad part about the track, it still looks like it did back in 1985. The cell reception is horrible. No team can really get a sponsor plug out because it's just, like I said, the cell service is horrible. You can't send out any live race tweets. You can't send out any live race updates. You just can't do anything. It was very rough because I was wondering when I was watching that race why I wasn't seeing any race teams, even the higher teams like Venturini and Kyle Busch Motorsports, sending out updates. They weren't because they didn't have the cell service. Maybe they were trying to send the tweets and they just couldn't. So I love Salem. The racing product at Salem is great. The cell service, we all know, is not great. That is for sure. But I like the schedule. Obviously, I'm also just happy, my home track, Iowa, is back on there again. And yes, I'll answer right now. I will be back with Brad Smith at Iowa. Always got to work the home track race. It means a lot to me. And although the NASCAR series might not come to Iowa Speedway anymore, I'm glad that ARCA does. But yeah, so that's the main series schedule. Again, not many changes. Pretty much the exact same tracks. A little bit of shuffling. But either way, I think it's a good 20-race schedule for the ARCA series. All these different tracks, super speedways, short tracks, regular size intermediates, and road courses. I mean, it's one of the more diverse schedules that you've ever seen. And really only since have the other NASCAR series, top three NASCAR series, actually adapted to more of a schedule like that, which I think also does take a little bit of special luster away that the series itself had. So yeah, that's kind of the main division. I'm excited for that next year. And we had to wait a while, about a couple weeks, but we finally got the East and West schedules that were released today. We will go over the East schedule first. only 8 races. Now, I know that doesn't sound very good, but it is better than the 7 last year. I do agree, though. I was very critical about the East Division this year. I admit, the races that they put on, the combo races were fine because that involved the main circuit, but their standalone races were just not very good. And you're talking to one of the biggest ARCA fans out there, so if even I say a race isn't good, it's just not good, man. It's just not. And there were some of those this year. Nashville, I had to admit, the Nashville East race was a stinker. It just was. Sammy Smith, even though Jake Finch led a little bit of the race, Sammy Smith just absolutely demolished the field. Absolutely demolished him. He won the race by like 4 or 5 seconds at Nashville. And then same thing at New Smyrna. It was literally a 2-car race out of the 15 cars that were there. Only 2 cars legitimately had a chance at that. I was very, very critical about the East Division. Very critical. And even then their Dover race, again, it just wasn't very good. And I think it's just the biggest problem is low car counts. The payouts are not very good. The East Series, and another thing is, for the East Series, I feel like it needs to be in the East Coast. I mean, if this is an East Series, I'm glad they come to Iowa, but at the end of the day, why are they running the Midwest? I mean, if you look at the East Series schedule, Flat Rock, Iowa, Lucas Oil, Milwaukee, I mean, that's all in the Midwest. So, I mean, if this is an East Division, why do you have half your schedule in the Midwest? But again, that's just, I guess, a little nitpicking. I just want all 3 series to be successful. But at the end of the day, I'm not the only one who has a problem with the East Division. But even to say all that, the East schedule, I say, has a wide range of tracks that I think will provide some decent racing, for sure. 5 Flags will be the first race. No New Smyrna. Casey Campbell, a fellow media person, actually talked to ARCA's PR director, official PR director, Charlie Crawl, and did say that New Smyrna is currently still being attended to and I believe fixed by the city because, as we all know, Hurricane Ian absolutely wreaked havoc in the Daytona Beach area, and with the track itself not being very far from the Daytona International Speedway itself, there was just a lot of damage. There was a lot of pictures going around. I think the track was underwater. I think I saw a couple pictures of it underwater, so a lot of damage. And a track that old, you got to be careful with it. You got to be careful with how you try to get the track going again. So kind of sucks not to see that. But at the same time, I'm also kind of happy. I was there for the 2021 ARCA East race there. It's just hard for those teams that are going to be running the main race at Daytona. It's hard for them to prepare a short track car, come down to Daytona, and then run the New Smyrna race, take the car back to North Carolina, and pick up the super speedway cars. I feel like to that aspect is why the series struggled so much. I don't know how you guys feel about that. That's just kind of what I put together about it. But at the same time, with what we saw this season in the season opener, with just literally a 2-car race between Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray, I'm not going to miss New Smyrna from the schedule. I do hope it comes back, but I only hope it comes back if we can get proper competition and a good race. And a lot of the cars that were there this year, were field fillers. Were absolute field fillers. Some other happiness about the schedule, though, Flat Rock Speedway, which has not hosted an ARCA-sanctioned event since 2000, will be back on the schedule. That might be the most popular standalone East race of the season. I could see Venerini entering a couple of cars in that race. I could definitely see a lot of the main series organizations. That race is taking place on May 20th. And as for the main series division, that is an off week. That is the week before Charlotte. So it is an off weekend. So for some of these teams who have that prestige of Flat Rock, I can tell you Brad Smith will more than likely be there because coming from Michigan, Flat Rock's not that very far away. So we know Brad will be there. And I would be shocked if Venturini doesn't bring a couple cars. And like I said, a couple of the other main series entries. I would even be shocked if DGR maybe brings a car to run because that track is so much history towards it. I wish it was on the main division. Like, I really do wish that Flat Rock was in the main division because I feel like it would put on a better race. It's just great to see a track, 22 years ago, and it's still running with local division racing. And it's great to see a track like that get some more publicity and it'll get a main, at least a ARCA sanctioned event. I wish it was main division, but at least it's better than nothing. And also for that, like I said, we got the Dover race, and then we got Iowa. Basically, the first 4 races are ARCA East only, and then the last 4 are kind of the sanctioned combo races, kind of how it was this year. Iowa, Lucas Oil, Milwaukee, and Bristol will be the combo races. We have no really announcements. Excuse me there. We have no really announcements for any E-Series organizations yet. I've seen a lot of rumors out there, but even if you see these rumors of who you see joining the East Division, I don't believe it until it's announced. Especially with how little ARCA silly season news gets out there, I really wouldn't trust. And that's not trying to be rude. I just wait until either the entry list comes out for the first race or you see an official press release. Because at the end of the day, we have seen a lot of fake reports over the last couple of years of, teams do this, teams do that, and drivers do this, drivers do that. As we know right now, though, DGR's ARCA program, Tricon, they are saying they will be fielding some races. Kyle Busch Motorsports will not be returning to the ARCA division. However, it is heavily rumored that JGR will simply take back over the rights to the 18 car and will run the 18 itself and again the ARCA main division this season. Nice Motorsports, Matthew Gould, have heard some rumors, not full time, but Nice Motorsports does have a couple of ARCA cars in their stable. I would expect them to be at the Daytona Test with Matthew Gould. Not running the ARCA race, just running the ARCA Test. Get him approved to run some bigger tracks. And maybe at some of the ARCA and truck standalone races like a Kansas or like a Michigan, they might bring the ARCA car there just as well to get Matt some extra experience. But Young's Motorsports, we could see them with the ARCA car again. I've heard some people saying that Leland Honeyman could be back again for another full season in the ARCA East Series. Again, we just don't really know until there's an official announcement by the driver or the team, or if we wait until the entry list all the way next March. But it's going to be interesting to see where the East Series lines up next year. I'm not necessarily nervous for the races at Iowa, Lucas Oil, Milwaukee, and Bristol. Those will be the combo races. Plenty of cars, plenty of on-track action. Flat Rock, I expect Flat Rock to get plenty of cars. There'll be a lot of interest. I think a lot of the older guys who are still doing ARCA, like a Dale Shear, especially Brad Smith, they won't just show up there to start and park. I would expect to see guys like Dale Shear and Brad Smith show up to run the whole thing. Andy Hillenberg, we know he'll be there with 4 cars. A couple of guys will probably want to run the whole race for that division. Flat Rock, I think, will be fine because with just how special that race is, coming back after 22 years, or I guess at that point it'd be 23 years, I expect that race to do fine with car counts, maybe around 20, and that's all you need for a track like that, 20 cars with around 16 to 17 running the whole distance. The races I'm concerned about are Dover, Five Flags, and Nashville. Now, the Dover race was not all that bad. Nashville, like I said, was not good, and Five Flags was really no better. I don't really know how to call those races. I'm just worried we're just going to get low car counts again, and we're just going to see the same thing. But then again, though, you look at where the East Division was. I mean, you brought a fresh KBM, car with a fresh motor, a fresh chassis every single race. They were spending all the money to make sure Sammy had the freshest car possible. And then you had these teams who were running the same motors, the same chassis. I mean, it's just there was going to be no competition at all for Sammy unless he crashed or severely damaged the car or had a mechanical issue. That 18 was just simply not going to lose those East races, the standalone ones. And he didn't. He just wasn't. The 17 was just not going to get him. So I'm curious, if the 18 does run the East Division again, which if they run the full-time main division, I would expect the 18 to run the East Division at the same time because it's only 4 extra races for them to run. And a matter of with who. I mean, remember, we saw Riley Herbst run the 18, and he didn't really do much in that car. He only won, I think, a couple of ARCA races in the 18. So it also matters, even though that 18 car is arguably the best ARCA car, it also does matter who they put in it at the same time. And I've heard rumors that it's coming back, but I don't know who would be driving it. I don't know who TRD would put in that car. Really couldn't name anyone right now. I don't know if anyone in the chat could name anyone, but I do expect the 18 to be back next year, obviously under the Joe Gibbs Racing banner. But yeah, I'm just a little concerned for those races. I think, if they happen, they happen. But I hope the East Series will definitely have a better car counts for this season. But Flat Rock's back, and honestly, I just can't wait for that. That's kind of the biggest highlight for me, especially for the East Series as a whole. So we move on to the West Circuit. Now, the West Circuit, they really struggled during COVID. At some point in the 2020 season, we saw just 11 cars show up. For a couple of races, we saw just 11 cars show up, and it was pretty bad, man. It was pretty bad. But to see how the West Series, I said the West Series was the best series of racing in 2021 with on-track action. This season in 2022, they struggled for car counts. A lot of the races earlier in the year did not see very good car counts, and I think it hurt the racing. A lot of the car counts that happened in the later part of the season provided great racing. The Phoenix race was phenomenal. I thought it was great racing. The last couple of races, like at Las Vegas, great racing. And I expect it to be exactly the same in 2023. We got more races. This year, we only had 9. We only had 9 ARCA West races, which I think is a step up. I mean, I'm not trying to say, but any ARCA division, the East Series at least ran over 10 races. I definitely feel like any series should be over 10 races. 2020 had 11, 2021 had 9, this year had 11. I got that mixed up. Next year, thankfully, we'll have even more. We will have 12. Some standouts on here and some returns. We got the first race, which will be at Phoenix. That'll be the combo race with the main division. That's always a good one. Irwindale, the first of 2. Good to see Irwindale back. Somehow that track keeps surviving. All the times we keep hearing about Irwindale being torn down, it survives another year. Kern County, great to see that one back again. Portland, only on there once this year. Good. That track only needs 1 date. Sonoma, the second Irwindale race. Shasta. Now, I know you're saying Shasta. I don't know what you guys are I don't know what I'm talking about either. That is an old school ARCA West Series track. And I'm happy to see that one come back. It's cool to see old tracks like that have not seen ARCA West action in a long time. The last race that happened at Shasta was 2015. And before 2015, 1993. The very first ARCA West race that took place there was in 1967. So this track definitely has some history. This track has a lot of history. It's been around for over 50 years. And it's great to see the ARCA West division going back to a track like that. I'm excited for it. Absolutely excited for it. And I love the difference we see in the ARCA West schedule. And, I know there's going to be a couple of ARCA West teams shutting down. Some people were concerned for car counts next season. I think the ARCA West series will be fine. Like I said, a lot of the teams are going to be expanding their organizations, and a couple more part-time teams will be returning. And obviously, some veterans like Todd Souza will be returning again full-time. But yeah, Shasta, great to see that one come back. Evergreen, All-American, the Las Vegas Bull Ring, and Madera. How about this one? Just like Shasta, Madera Speedway. This one has not seen action since 2009. Over at that point, it'd be 14 years since that series ran there in 2009. Eric Holmes won that race. How many ARCA fans remember the K&N days of Eric Holmes, who drove the Napa car? I was a big Eric Holmes fan when I was a kid, mainly because I just cheered on the Napa team. And then before 2009, the last race there was 2003. And then before that, it was 1996. So I think that's really cool. Places like Madera and Shasta that have not seen the light of day in such a long time coming back in 2023. That is so cool, man. And that's why I said the West Series always brings me so much excitement. Places like Shasta and Madera, the history behind those tracks. I just hope we get the car counts that can bring those tracks great racing. That's the only thing I hope for next year. When will ARCA be using the Camaro and the Mustang? The Mustang nose I would expect to be used a lot next year. The 17 team was using that full time. I would expect them. I was going to expect them to use it this season, but obviously they've switched to Toyota. Not really sure who the main Ford team now is on ARCA. I believe that would be the 30 team, but they ran Fusions last year with Balkin. Now that they've had time in the offseason, if Amber Balkin does return to the 30 team this next season, I could see that team running the Mustang body. I believe it actually is better aero. Aero-wise, I believe the Mustang nose is actually better than the Fusion nose. As for the Camaro, I have not heard any updates on that at all yet. Cannot say any updates on that at all. It is kind of weird, though, seeing the Chevy SS, knowing that we haven't seen that in the Cup circuit since 2017. But yeah, and then, of course, the season finale, which is, of course, Phoenix. It is not a combo race, but usually a lot of main series organizations will end up running that race anyway, as just kind of a fun way to end the season on a high note, go out west, have some fun. So while the East Series, still might not be where I want it to be, the West Series has definitely improved their schedule. I love the two old tracks coming back. That's going to be fun to watch. Definitely going to be sad not seeing the Sunrise Ford entries. Man, I'd say that hurt. I remember seeing those cars for a long time. The West Series will definitely look a lot different next year. But definitely think. Well, Molten Rage in the chat. The thing with the 5-star bodies, from what I was told from a couple of teams in the garage, Molten, with 5-star, their first process is to get a lot of the Xfinity bodies, a lot of the basically a lot more of the other series bodies out first. The ARCA Mustang body was just kind of put on the back order, I guess you could say. And that's kind of why it took them so long to come out. I have no idea when the Chevy SS. I know that's coming eventually, but I have no idea when that will be coming. I would expect, though, since ARCA knows that a lot of these teams can't afford to make the switch, I would once again, can't use them from Zachary Tingle. Can't use them. The Mustang and Chevy Camaro, they are steel bodies. The ARCA bodies are composite bodies like the Xfinity series, so yeah, they can't be used. But 5-star eventually, from what I was told in the garage, will be making a Chevy body. Like I said, the Ford Mustang nose and the Fusion nose will be both allowed to use again next year. So like we saw this season with DGR using the Mustang and Rhett Jones using the Fusion, that will still be allowed, I believe, for this season. Because I know Andy Hillenberg still has some Fords. Zachary has ran his Fords. I would imagine they would still allow. You just can't expect these lower budget teams to be able to get these new noses It's like when the Xfinity Series went from Camrys to the Supra body. But yet you had guys like Carl Long who were running the Camry body as long as he could. He got the most out of those Camry noses. But yeah, so yeah, they don't. Yeah, so Zachary Tingle continues to say all the cut bodies except for noses were steel bodies. Yeah, the rear bumpers were plastic, but they don't line up with the 5-star composite. Yes, that is true. But yeah, definitely body changes. We'll get to that later. Obviously, no body news. Obviously, ARCA Daytona testing. Now that we've gone through all the schedules, the one little last bit I wanted to talk about. Was Daytona testing. It is scheduled to take place as usual. The hurricane has not pushed it back. Daytona has been repaired. Luckily, I know we saw the pictures. I did get a little concerned. That track looked rough after the storm had hit. Thankfully, everything's been repaired. Recent photos of the track looks good. Looks ready to go. And yeah, Daytona testing is scheduled to be back. We've had a couple of announcements already. Landon Huffman, short track champion at Hickory, congratulations to him, will be driving the 3-car, or one of Willie Mullins' 3 cars on the Daytona test. Willie Mullins is expected to bring a couple of, maybe 2 cars with a couple of drivers. We know Andy Hillenberg will be there with maybe 3 or 4 cars and a whole shoestring of drivers. Venerini, they'll be there with 4 cars. I would expect the JGR 18 car to be there with a rookie driver just to get a couple of laps. I would expect Taylor Gray to be there with Tricon, again, just to get a couple of laps. He's still not old enough to run Daytona, but they can at least get him some laps around Daytona, just some extra experience. Brad, I've said last year that Brad Smith was trying to get the Ford ready. Unfortunately, with the real world issues that are going on right now, money is very tight at that team. And they would love to bring the Ford. They just don't have the money or the time to get it ready. And right now they're still using the Chevrolet, so I can't guarantee if he'll be there or not. Can't guarantee if Peterson will be there as well. I know they've got a lot of work to do over the offseason as well. But yeah, I think the Daytona test will still be stacked, still absolutely be stacked as usual, with around probably about 30 cars with about 50 different drivers. Always enjoyed the Daytona test. Kind of fun to see the testing pictures. I would expect to see Josh Williams teamed out there again with a couple of drivers. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that down the line. The only confirmed drivers I see right now is Landon Huffman. I could see Brad Perez again running for Willie Mullins. The Daytona test is just kind of a fun opportunity for some drivers to get some laps around Daytona for a decent price. I know even my father thought about I'm not going to lie. I'll say it right now. My father thought about contacting Andy Hillenberg about doing the Daytona test, which, I hope he does it. We just don't, my family unfortunately don't have the money for that right now, but wouldn't that be something? My at that point, probably 56-year-old father running around Daytona. We've even heard reports that, if they let 79-year-old Benny Chastain on the track, I'm sure they'll let my dad on the track. And for those who are wondering, I think Benny Chastain, I don't think he's going to be back next year. I heard a lot of people asking me, is Benny going to return? Is he going to run Daytona at age 80? I don't think he is. I heard some people say that after his East Series crash at Five Flags, he was maybe forced into retirement. I don't know if that's confirmed. I've heard rumors that he did get his license revoked. But he is 79 years old. We got to remember that, and there comes a time where you just maybe got to hang it up. Even James Hilton, he ran his last ARCA plate races at 78 years old. He hadn't turned 79 yet. So I don't know if we should be letting people into their 80s race around Daytona. Not in, a driving experience car that can go about 160. I'm talking like a Andy Hillenberg car, which can still pull 180. So So Zachary Tingle confirms, yes, they did pull his license. So to all the people who wanted to see Benny Chastain run Daytona at age 80, unfortunately, it's just not going to happen, which, I wanted to see it, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad we're not. Though Benny could get it back. That's true. That is true, Zachary. That is true. He could, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's not always in the way. I mean, even in the last couple of plate races they've done, he's not really been in the way at all. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, and that was kind of the our show for today. Daytona testing obviously will be coming up in January. More details on that soon. More podcasts on that soon. Obviously, you guys have seen over, the last couple of days, I haven't had the best time right now with my personal life, and I've been kind of taking it slow, getting him back online, which, again, I thank you guys for your support. Trying to get some guests on. We also got, at the moment, we have one confirmed guest that I would like to be on the show. Right now, I am in the process of contacting the man himself, David Frog Hall. Yes, Frog Hall, who ran the 90s and the early 2000s in the ARCA division. I am in the process of getting a hold of him, and I'm hoping to get him on the show. Yes, the Frog Hall, one of my favorite racing names of all time. That is such a cool name. And we're trying to get Frog on the show. Hopefully that'll happen sometime in December. But yeah, just trying to get some more content videos out for you guys. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, definitely have to make a cameo sometime. Is there a chance we can get Willie Mullins? I'd love to get Willie on the show. They've expressed interest. His wife has reached out to me. So I guess you could probably add him to the list. I'd love to get Willie on too. So definitely trying to get a couple of guests on. I don't know. I'm trying to, focus more on my personal life right now. But again, the goal is to definitely get a couple of podcast guests on. Yes, Zachary, I want to get you on too. Trust me. I got some good Peterson stories I know you can tell me. But yeah, so that's kind of it for today's show. Thank you guys for joining me as we talked the ARCA schedules for 2023 and some Daytona testing plans for 2023 as well. It's going to be a great season. After the rough 2020, upbringing 2021, and a great 2022 season, can't wait for ARCA in 2023. It's all I can say, and I hope you guys join me. We've been doing this now for 2 years, and it just gets more fun. Just gets more fun day by day by day, and every podcast we do just gets more fun with you guys. Last thing before I go, I will be at Daytona in 2023. Can't confirm if I'm going to be helping Brad or not, but I would like to go there to help out quite a few race teams that you guys have seen me work with in the past. Yeah, I'm sure you got quite a few stories, Mark. You've been in this a lot longer than I have. I won't put you on a time limit, but yeah, definitely one night we gotta. We'll start at 6 and we'll have a 2-hour. How about 2-hour time limit? But yeah, I will be in Daytona next year. Can't reveal a lot of details yet because it's still early. But so if you guys enjoy my content on YouTube and Twitter, I'll be starting my season off early. Let's just say that. So till next podcast, whether it be a driver interview. Yeah, the money team. Yeah, love that. But yeah, till next time. Thank you guys for joining me on tonight's show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and we'll catch y'all later. I've been Colby Evans, and I'm signing off. So long. I love you guys. Take care now.